Do you see this guy's on a Facebook? Or do you see that I have an opportunity to help this person? So if you see I have an opportunity to help this person, if I go on Mifsayim and I ask a person, did you know, my son Mendel recently, just a few weeks ago, brought 23 chevra from Fort Myer. He has university shlichus, and these guys came to 770, and I was amazed because they walked into 770 without yarmulke. They didn't even understand. For whatever reason, if nobody waited, have to get till somebody gave it to them, whatever. But they didn't have a clue that you can't walk in because they were only a few weeks from their first Jewish experience, and they came to 770. So how do I look at these people? Do I say, they don't even know you don't walk into 770 without a yarmulke? Or do you look at it that even though they don't even know that you can't walk into 770 without a yarmulke, Afal Pikain, they Baruch Hashem came to 770, and they want to learn, and they're ready to put on a yarmulke, and they're ready to put on tefillin, and they're ready for every mitzvah. Okay, they don't know about yarmulkes. Nobody ever told them. So basically, we have to not look at anybody negative. He says over here, it should never enter in your heart a negative thought about another person. And what if it does enter your heart? Well, I'm human. I thought negatively on another person. You have to push it away. Like if it's smoke. I relate with this. I have a breathing issue. And if there's smoke in the room, for me, it's mamish terrible. Somebody smoking, I have to run away because and he says, if you have a thought, if just like I personally, if I have smoke in the room, I have to run away because otherwise, it's mamish dangerous. If you have a negative thought about another human being, it's mamish dangerous, and you got to run away. Let's say you mamish thought avodah zarah, you thought that in your kfira. So there's no difference between a negative thought about another human being and machshavas avodah zarah. You should look at a negative thought about another human being and machshavas avodah zarah. Ki gedolim lashon hara keneged avodah zarah gili arayos u'shlichus damim. Lashon hara is equal to all three. And b'chal lashon hara is not pshat, I think. Lashon hara is speaking a negative thing about another person. So the Alter Rebbe says, v'im b'dibur kach, if speaking a negative word about another person is worse than avodah zarah gilin ayis shlichus damim, and machshav is much deeper than dibur. Imagine how much worse it is to think a negative thing about another person. You know, we're finding it in Baruch Hashem. I don't talk lashon hara. But what about you think? A negative thought about another Jew entered his mind. And it's very hard. I mean, I don't know how many people I would call my place because I think negative thoughts. I think others do too, but it's very hard. But the Alter Rebbe says it's coming machshavas avodah zarah mamish. V'im b'dibur kach, how much more so machshava? V'noid kvar noidan l'chol chacham leiv yisrain hechsher machshava al dibur. We know that machshava is much deeper than dibur. Hein l'toiv, both in positive, and hein l'mutar in the negative. And therefore, if lashon hara b'dibur is terrible, lashon hara b'machshava is that much worse. V'Hashem hatoiv ha'mevarich esamei b'shalom. Hashem who blesses Yidden with shalom. Yosim aleichem shalom b'chayim ad olam. He should give shalom forever. That we should be b'shalom with every single person. Kenefesh. What is this Rosh Davis again? Oyev nefesh min leiv nefesh. Okay. I just think this is one phrase in Tanya, which I'm reading this out not because I'm mustering anybody else, but this is something that I'm reading for myself. Yud Tes Kislev, I think, a message from Tanya that I should think. This is a message from Tanya that I should get. Or there's another piece in Tanya, which is Perek Yud Beis, the end, which is almost the same, where he says, "V'chein b'dvarim shemin adam l'chaverim, miyad she'olen le'mehanleiv le'mayach ein zetina v'sino chas v'sholem." If from your mind, your heart went to your mind, some negative feeling, some hatred, any negative feeling to another human being, you're a bit jealous, or you're angry, you're upset at the person, all sorts of negative feelings you can have to another person. If any of these negative feelings, again, a negative feeling, hatred, jealousy, anger, being upset, any of these feelings, don't be makabel them in your brain or in your doxin for a moment. The mind is in control. You have the ability to control your emotions. You have a negative feeling to another person. Okay, the neighbor just sent you a problem. You have an nisayon. but you have to mamish push it away. Mamish, you got to do the opposite. A negative, you have a terrible nisayon, into your mind came a negative feeling, a negative thought to another person. You have to do ha'hepech mamish. This person who you have a negative feeling to him, the fact that you have a negative feeling, you have to have more ava and more chiba, more love to this person than to a person who you don't have a negative feeling. Show him extra love. To be ready to suffer, doesn't mean you have to be a victim. But even if you're suffering from this person, not to get angry. Again, you have to protect yourself. The Alter Rebbe is not saying you shouldn't protect yourself, but stop to get angry and get upset and hatred, and this doesn't achieve anything. Protect yourself, yes, but don't get angry, because no matter what the person does, anger is a negative midah. I'm going to get him back. Oh, I'm going to fix him good, exactly what he deserves. There's a big difference between protecting yourself for the future and, in other words, when the Rebbe has a strong shittas on Eretz Yisrael, on terrorists, it's not because we're out to get them. It's because you're out to protect. Because I actually heard Mipek Kotche from the Rebbe during the Lebanon war that the Rebbe said they should bomb Beirut. And the Rebbe said they should bomb Beirut. Not only will it save Yiddish lives, but it will save lives of Palestinians and PLO. And every PLO that dies needlessly is a terrible thing. You know, even let's say a Shvi Pesach, we don't say Halal Shalom because Masay Yodei Tevim Bayam Batem Shida. It doesn't mean should you protect yourself? The answer is yes. Is there a din Bola Harga Hashkim Barga? Yes. But negative feelings to the person is not right. That's not what he says. Not to pay the person back what he deserves. To do good to people who are guilty. This guy's chayav, he's guilty. Despite that, you should do good to him. As it says in Zayar, to teach. Just to mention on this, an amazing story that I heard. One of my heroes, Rabbi Mendel Glukowski, who's an Oven Rechavis, and he's been in Melbourne multiple times. And there's one story that he told which moved me very much. Many very mashpiyim go to various places to speak, and they need parnasim with bebesim, so there's an agreement that the place is going to pay kach lekach for their speaking tour. He said he went to a certain place and they made an agreement or whatever. Anyway, he was there for a meshach man. He spoke all week. I don't remember how long. And they didn't give him decent accommodation, and they didn't give him decent food. And they made him work hard. And at the end, the money they promised to pay, they never paid. And not only they didn't pay, but even his ticket that he laid out, they didn't give him either. Comes back home, and his wife asks him, "No, Mendel, how was it?" So what's he supposed to say? He says, "Baruch Hashem." Okay, then he's tired, and he has to read Kishma Shalamita. And he opens the Siddur, and in Siddur state, Ribono Shel Olam, Hareini Moichel, L'chol Mi Shehichas V'Hifnit Oisi. And he thinks these guys, they mamish took me for a ride. They promised me this. They promised me this. They spoke a lot, and they did nothing. So he had a major crisis, he said. So on one hand, you have to link Kishma Shalamita. On the other hand, to say a lie. So what are you supposed to do? And he's tired as could be. And he said he was struggling with himself until it took a long time, and he was mamish exhausted, until he was able to bring himself to say the words Ribono Shel Olam Hareini Moichel L'chol Mi Shehichas V'Hifnit Oisi, and say them to them. Now, why am I saying these words? The truth is, am I holding by this? Not at all. Not at all. Why am I saying this? First of all, it's something that I know that I heard that everyone once told it of Nissen. That he has to how you run by buck and things you don't hold by yourself. One by that the money by yet. I know that the Rebbe gave me, and this is something that concerns me very much, because before I left to Australia on Shlichus in Tafshin Lamed Tes, the Rebbe gave me a kunter Savas Yisrael with his signature. And obviously, it's the only thing that Rebbe gave me with his signature. He wants me to learn it. I need to get an injection in Abbas Yisrael. Not just he gave it to me, but he gave me 3 for myself, for my wife, and my oldest child. So, in other words, that means I need a mayor. So I'm not chas v'sholem, you know. I once got, I got the day I left to Australia, I got a shima from the Rebbe with the exact details of what the shlichus was. The Rebbe writes there should be no misunderstanding, so he wants me to know exactly what's expected. Okay, so in one of the things that Rebbe put together, there's the main Rishim and an extra piece, a certain Inyan Avodah, and then the Rebbe writes, Halavai she'yifel advarim bi. That I hope that whatever I wrote should affect them, should affect. Doesn't mean negaya that Rebbe's Avodah, Halavai she'yifel advarim bi. That Rebbe's chesroinus. I'm not the Rebbe's mashpia. The Rebbe wrote this to me. Why? The Rebbe also has Avodah, whatever the Rebbe's Avodah is. So now, I'm not saying any of this because don't imagine in any way that I'm a mashu higher than anybody else. But at least as I learned this in Tanya, I know that if I have a sino, dina, peda, I know that it's kemachshev. I know that the Alter Rebbe says it's kemachsheves avodah zarah mamish, and we have to be borcheinu avinu kol lanu kechad, and we have to feel together with everyone. And even though you want to know, are there human beings who have chesroinus? Yes. You know, it says chachma bagoyim tamin. I remember Torah bagoyim tamin, chachma bagoyim tamin. Not Farbrengen is not a Chassidish concept, but as a kid, I once visited Bronx, and I remember I went to different wild animals, fine, good, and then they have a thing, the most dangerous animal in the world, the only animal that destroys its own kind for no reason. And you walk into this building, and there's windows on all sides. The most dangerous creature in the world. And the Rebbe says, human beings have, as human beings, we have issues, and Chassidus month, Mayach Shalat Alaleiv, and we have to somehow manage to develop a feeling and taking an interest. You know, we have all the mitzvahim. We're very good. Mitzvah tefillin, mitzvah mezuzah, all the mitzvahim we're very good at. But one of the mitzvahim is mitzvah savas Yisrael. To really care about the other person and really care about how we can help the other person. And even if the other person has chesroinus, and even if they wronged us, and even if they did whatever to us. And again, I'm saying this, and where am I holding? It's a good, you're right. But there's a concept of Kabbalah Emes Mimisha Omre. Anyway, the Rebbe should help that each of us should be able to. I don't Chas v'Shalom want to give Musar to anybody. I'm just giving Musar to myself. As that's what.
Can you explain where you're up to? It's a machshavas on machshavas hoods. Where you're up to?
That's from us.
Anyway,
I don't believe anything is saying about yourself.
The Harvard Golden, but Sweden is a lot more finished.
Amen.
While you're talking here, you mentioned about Bukowski. I heard a very interesting story from Mendel Bukowski. He spoke in 770, maybe 15 years ago. You know, he used to speak, you don't remember? He used to speak after Chris, I tell you, before most of it. So he mentioned a story with the Chernobyl. Nachum Chernobyl and Motl Chernobyl. Nachum Chernobyl had passed away already. And Motl was very, very sick. He was almost in death in the last moments. And the Talmidim came to visit him. So there's, you know, Staltus, Hanshama. But miraculously, he had a refuah. He didn't die. And they asked him, Sama, when you were in this situation, Matzah, Sama, you saw, you know, who knows what you saw? Tell us what you saw. And he said, I saw my father. My father didn't recognize me. And it bothered me very much why he didn't recognize me. So I said, Tata, this is Motl. Why don't you recognize me? He said, go ahead and make a cheshbon hanefesh, and you'll find out why. So he made a cheshbon hanefesh, and he couldn't figure out what he did wrong. So he asked his father, maybe give me a hint. He said, something that happened recently. Do you remember anything? Yeah, I remember, but it was a good thing I did. What was the good thing? Poor person, Noni Meduka came to my door, and he asked for an adava. And what happened? And I gave it to him. Not only did I give him, I brought him to the house, and I gave him all the food he needed, and the shower, and I had. And what else? Oh, I also was Matthias him. Matthias. What I said, Matthias was Rabbi Aleph. I Matthias him. And what did you say to him? I said you should know, whoever Hashem loves, he rebukes. So you should know that the Eibusher loves you. Stop. He said. In Gan Eden, we don't learn pshat that way. We put the comma not after the word. We put the comma after the word. If you love someone and someone is suffering, don't be malamas close on the Eibusher. Hashem Yechia. Tell Hashem, you want to punish me, but don't punish that yid. He deserves better. Because you didn't learn shot the way we learned, that's why I couldn't recognize you. Interesting book. Fine. I'll just conclude with one little story of myself. Happened with my brother. JetBlue flight. JetBlue flight from Buffalo.
Mirrors.
I'll conclude with this. I told the story to and he looking for a seat. There's pretty empty. So he finds an empty seat there, and it happens to be next to a young fellow. Didn't know if he was Jewish or not. Sat down next to him. He asked him, "Jewish? Yeah, college student." And okay, gets a little conversation with him, and then it stops. Then, as the plane is about to lift off, it hasn't lifted off yet. It said the height, the altitude is 613 feet off the ground. It wasn't off the ground. It said 613. Oh, 613. You know what 613 is? No. That's the amount of mitzvahs that we have. Then, as the plane is already in flight, it says the plane is going at 358 miles an hour. My brother says 358. You know what 358 stands for? No. Mashiach. My brother says it looks like we're going to have a very interesting flight. Little did he know that there would be a very interesting flight. As they're flying, maybe 20 minutes drive from Buffalo to New York, the pilot announces there's an issue with the wheels. The front wheels are not going into the fuselage, meaning there's going to be a problem in our landing. We might have a problem in our landing. We don't know for sure yet. We have to wait and see. From back there headquarters, we'll find out. So. Then he gets on the loudspeaker again, and he says, "Yes, there is a major problem. We might have a crash landing." Oh, people start getting very, very nervous, including the college student starts to get very nervous, and he's shaking already. Then he says, "I want to tell you that I've never, in my 20 years, I've never had this. Is the first time I've ever had a problem like this. So make people feel more comfortable now." And then you see the stewardess all getting very nervous. When the stewardess are getting nervous, you know it's time to be scared. Everyone is calling, it's mamish. Everyone's panicking. Everyone's panicking. This guy is screaming, "Shema Yisrael! Hashem Elokeinu!" Shema Yisrael. He's came from a Yid. Shema Yisrael. My brother says, "What do you think Shema Yisrael for? That's before you pass away. We're going to live." So the guy is looking at my brother like he's not normal. You're not scared? The brother was scared, but he had a good time to help him. It helped. And he controlled himself. And he started saying, and all the people are looking, this rabbi's fingers, rabbi, whatever, weird rabbi, we're scared. And he's just singing a song there. My answer was that the plane landed. There was a little bit of a fire, a little smoke, but that was it. My brother was actually a Yom Pagra, and he spoke at the Farbrengen the night after this whole thing. I'll tell you in a minute what he said. A year later, my brother is invited to a seminar in Seagate to speak. On Shabbaton, we had a Shabbaton, and he was one of the guest speakers, along with Simon Jacobson, Yossi Jacobson, and my brother was also one of them. As my brother finishes speaking, a guy comes and walks over to him, says, "Rabbi, you recognize me?" "No." "JetBlue? Right? Wheels? That's you?" "Yeah, I took a flight to Judaism." "You know why? Because I saw how a religious Jew didn't get scared of death. There's something about you that must have, I want to be like that. Where do you get the strength of not panicking?" And that's why I decided I want to be a prophet. He lives in Crown Heights now. He has 5 children. Can't remember his name. I forget his name. And I wanted to invite him to a meal. I had a whole bunch of guests in my house. I wanted him to tell the story himself. At first I said, "Is the story true?" He said, "Yes, it is true, 100%. Can you come to my house?" "I can't come this week. Maybe I'll come next week." And then COVID broke out. So my Hoya, and that's Chabad Chassid. The way you conduct yourself, the world sees that, and it has an impact. It came from because of this. At the Farbrengen that night after, my brother said, which of the wheels were a problem? The front wheels. The front wheels are the FFBs. The back wheels are the Malachula. No problem with the back wheels. They can land. The front wheels have the issue. Sometimes we have to understand the mile of Bali Tshuva. Al-Tereba was known to make Bali Tshuva. Muftu of Chassidus is transforming to make Baba Tshuva. Anyways, the Chaim.
Say something.
There were two Minyan you wanted to talk about. That was the first one from Thailand. The second.
I suppose I mentioned both. About the same thing. Both the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yossi goes, no, he doesn't have to tell us. He learned with a young boy who was not heading in the right direction. One Orthodox family, but he was heading in the wrong direction, and he learned with him many Meseftas. I don't know how many Meseftas. The guy became, it's not Yisrael, Nigla. Much of everything, the mother, Rashi, Beya, Makis, I don't know which Meseftas they are. Giga, maybe. So he's small Meseftas, but he went through with them. Daf after daf after daf, and his Bacher right now is not a Bacher, he's probably around 60 right now. A big beard, and he, I can tell you his name is Michael Learfield, right? Michael Learfield, and he has other brothers who the whole family, through him, became this kind of much closer to Yiddishkeit. Who knows where they would be right now, not where, but this young man away.
Well, you're for sure hired 120 years.
Yes. Well, thank you. Stark. Here's my limit on the shore.
We need a lot of blessings.
So this thing is only on one of the high.
When you mentioned your brother, I had the opportunity to thank him. I every day before he looked at my phone, I assure him about the Lord, and he was by the dinner, It was right before the dinner. Around getting sick. So after he did now,
Which dinner?
only dinner.
Only Taylor here?
Yeah, he was in that seat. He was a guest in that seat. So I had asked him to thank him. He was so grateful to hear. Yeah. Very special, man. Very special. Yeah. He was so engaging. Like you have to pull in everything he said. Okay.
He had a very long journey of his life. He himself had a very long journey.
I think.
He didn't have a schedule. You're not sure. I look at the whole sometimes people go through there's a concept of the somebody from I never believed it.
Okay, now we can start.